What is going on, dudes? It is Kolosalus here, and I'm so excited to bring you guys the first episode of this weekly series that I'm bringing to YouTube. So you guys know I've been playing Hearthstone a lot over the last few months. Really, that's been the main game that I have been streaming, and the main game I've been talking about. Also uploading some stuff to my channel. So I wanted to start something that will help out other people find out about decks. What's the current good deck, how to play it, explanation of cards, what cards can be exchanged for what cards, this kind of thing. So it's kind of like a Hearthstone.com, if you know that website, with deck builder, but I will actually tell you in person what I'm doing. So in this first episode of this, I think I'm gonna call it Hearthstone deck highlight. It's gonna be a weekly series that we're gonna do. I'm saying weekly, but probably not gonna be coming out every week, probably every other week or something like that. But still, keep a lookout, especially if there will be a lot of interest in the series. I'll definitely continue it on, and I'll definitely be consistent with it. We'll see how it goes. So today we'll take a look at a deck that has been around for ages. Just give me a second. Yeah, so the deck has been around for ages. It's used widely, but I have my own kind of version of the deck. And today we're talking about Handlock. So it will show up somewhere on the screen magically. So basically this deck revolves around controlling the board, and then finishing your opponent late game with your giants slash Ragnaros, Jaraxxus, Defender of Argus. You basically want to lock. That's why it's called lock. I think, at least in my opinion, because you lock out your opponent from attacking you with huge Twilight Drakes, huge giants. You taunt them up and you lock your opponent out of the game completely. Of course, with the addition of the latest expansion, people have more ways to deal with your board, but it still proves very, very useful and very, very reliable, this deck. A lot of people are still getting Legend with it. If I would stuck with the game for longer, every month I would have gotten Legend as well. I'm just too lazy to put the time in. But I think I play well. I actually just finished stream, and that will be the footage you will see, which will be the part 2, which will be the actual gameplay. You guys will see how the deck plays and stuff. So anyway, let's start with a breakdown. Mortal Coil, a very good card against aggro. It's basically, if you guys don't know, it deals 1 damage, and if it kills a minion, it deals 1 damage to a minion, and if it kills it, it draws you a card. So it's a great card drawing engine. Plus, it's a great removal for aggro matchups. Plus, sometimes playing something like a Hellfire into Mortal Coil can really clear their board very well. Dark Bomb is an okay card. It's slightly worse than Frostbolt from Mage, but I feel like it is needed in the current meta because of all the Zoo and all the Hunters, and Mortal Coil will not remove a Huffer, will not remove something like a Flame Imp, so that's what Dark Bomb is there for. It deals 3 damage straight up, no additional side effects or anything like that. Ancient Watcher is what helps you lock out the early damage, and is also an enabler for Shadow Flame. So Ancient Watcher, you can play them with Sun Fury Protector with your Defender of Argus. It becomes a huge body. You can also Ironbeak Owl your own Ancient Watcher, and clear the board early. It's a very good card for this deck. As I said, it just locks your opponent out of the game. Ironbeak Owl, just a silence. I used to run 2 of these, but I noticed that I need the Ragnaros in this deck. We will talk about that later. It's just a silence. There are some combos like you can silence Ancient Watcher, and clear the board early. But mostly it's just used to control the board. If it's a very good target is a Pilot Shredder, a very good target. You on turn 4 they play Pilot Shredder. You answer with Iron Beak into Dark Bomb. Easy life, easy game, easy life. So That's how it works. Sun Fury Protector and Defender of Argus, I'm not going to explain too much because it's like a set in stone cards. They will not change ever, ever, ever. I mean, for this archetype of a deck. You just need taunts. And, Sun Fury Protector and Defender of Argus are like the best taunt givers. They're the only taunt givers in the game. And the reason why I don't run Defender of Argus is because I need space for my second antique Healbot. Big Game Hunter, very good in mirror matchups. There's a little bit of Handlock going around the ladder, and you'll see that in my gameplay videos. I hope that will be released. Anyway, I'll tell you guys later. And it's just a good removal, especially for something like a Dr. Boom. Dr. Boom is so annoying for this deck to deal with, and Big Game Hunter is really good. Earthen Ring Farseer. I use this card instead of Siphon Soul because sometimes I just want to heal up my giants. I obviously can't do that with Antique Healbot. Antique Healbot only heals the hero. So that's why I use it. Oh, of course, I use it still to, for example, if I have the coin to fill out my curve. On turn 3. You guys will see that in the gameplays as well. And that's just how it works. I just use it for that. It's easily exchangeable, but it's also pretty good against aggro. Like, they have to either sacrifice something, or you will be able to Shadow Flame your own Earthen Ring to get rid of their board. It's that easy. Hellfire, I run 2. I used to run 2 Shadow Flames and 1 Hellfire. But I feel like the Hellfire is a little bit better against aggro because it gets rid of the board and it puts you down into Molten Giant range, which both of those are really good. And yeah, just a very good solid card in this deck. Very good removal. Shadow Flame it has some combos in this deck. So for example, Ancient Watcher Shadow Flame is a 6 mana, 6 mana Flame Strike. You can kind of say. But also it can be used like with a Molten Giant, when you're very, very low, your opponent has a heavy board control, just throw down your 0 mana Molten Giant, throw your Shadow Flame on top of the giant, and you just clear the whole board. And sometimes I've turned the game so many times by doing this play. Also, one combo you might not be able to see if you're especially new to the game is Sylvanas Shadow Flame. Sylvanas Windrunner, you throw Shadow Flame on top of that. And let's say he has a bunch of 5 health creatures plus a Ragnaros. You steal Ragnaros and you clear all of his board, and you might actually this might give you lethal. It's a great combo. Defender of Argus, we already talked about that as a set stone card. At least one. There must be at least one. Twilight Drake is a set in stone card as well. It's just how Handlock works. You want to spend your 2 to 3. You want to spend your first 2 turns tapping, for cards. So the more cards you'll have, the better your Twilight Drake will get. If you get like 2 4/9s or even 4 10s on the board, and then you put Sun Fury Protector on it, if there's no double silence horse shit, then you just totally win the game. There's no coming back from that if there's no silence. Even if they have some crazy combos, there's no coming back from that game. 2 Antique Healbots. It's just a set in stone card for me, at least. People used to run a 1 and one Earthen Ring, and they would cut it for some, or for like a Siphon Soul or some other cards. But for me, it's a set in stone card. You just simply need, in current meta, there's so much aggro and there's so much combo, so much tempo mid decks. You just need double heal. Like, there's no other choice. Sludge Belcher, another set in stone card. So you can see that, it's kind of a pattern that a lot of the cards are really set in stone and you can't really change them. But some of them are very good, and you will be able to exchange them for other cards. So Sludge Belcher is a very good body. It's a 3/5 for 5 with a taunt. So, and then you also get a 1/2 out of that. So it can easily stop, something like a combo druid. It can easily stop, a hunter from having, for having lethal, because it spawns that taunt after you kill it. It gives you effectively 7 health to your hero, especially when it's like that. It's also a good counter to. It's a very good counter to Piloted Shredder again. and a lot of people play Pirate Shredder. Like I think almost every deck plays Pirate Shredder that I face, besides Handlocks. Now here we have a really interesting choice, because you don't have to run this card. You don't have to run Emperor Thaurissan in this deck, but I chose to run it because my friends told me about it. My friends told me, like, holy shit, you have to try this out, dog. You slam Thaurissan turn 6 with like 9 cards, and you just straight up win the game. And there have been, I definitely have to say that if you slam it down onto 9 cards, your opponent has a really hard chance of winning the game. It has a really small chance of winning the game, because you effectively get 4.5 innervates. So you basically get four innervates and a coin, basically to play your stuff. You know what I mean? It's just an amazing card. In combo decks, and it enables combos we have never dreamed of. You know, like double combo is something like very very common now. You know, people just slam it down at like turn 6, turn 7. You know, with just 2 pieces of the combo, they draw the third one, bam, game over. You know. But in this deck, it's mostly used to because you can see that most of the cards you see on here are quite high costed. Like, you know, your curve goes quite high, actually. You know, it goes like, you have some cards that are early game and it just shoots up. You know, your curve just shoots up. The Emperor Thaurissan is just used to basically, you know, make that curve not shoot up that much. It just lowers it that way. You just have more options and opens up options. But this is the first movable card. You can remove it. You don't have to run it if you don't have it. It's a good. There's your one spot that you can exchange. Sylvanas Windrunner. A lot of people like it, and I'm one of these people. A lot of people don't like it. Some people don't run it. I run it because it's great with Shadow Flame, and when you slam it down on the board, there's just something about this minion that, you know, people just go crazy. Like, oh my god, what do I do? How do I remove this? You know, so it doesn't steal my shit. You know, yeah, it's just a good mind games. It's a little shame if it gets silenced, but again, it pulls out a silence, so your other things, will not get silenced. You know, your Twilight Drakes will not get silenced, and stuff like that. Dr. Boom, I've run this river fucking dry. It's just so good. It's just such a good card. I wish I didn't have to run it but it's just such a good value. 7 mana 7. So basically, I talked to my friends about it, and it's like, it's a War Golem and 2 Flame Cannons sometimes, or it could be also a kind of a Pyroblast. You know, it's a 7/7 plus Pyroblast for 0 mana sometimes. You know. Because if you actually play it well and you get good RNG, you can actually deal 8 damage to somebody's face, and that will actually give you lethal. There's just so many things you can do with the card. Even turn 9, Dr. Boom into like Sun Fury in between, you know, the Boom and 1 Boom bot is so frustrating for the person, because he has to remove the 1/1, which will deal damage to something on his board or even his face, maybe putting him in lethal range and stuff like that. So here we come to another movable card, in people's opinion. In my opinion, I think it's just set in stone. Ragnaros is such a good card in this deck. It's a removal you need if you don't run Siphon Soul. So you could exchange this card for Siphon Soul, but when you Siphon Soul, you get 3 life, but you don't get this, you know, the minion on the board, like the huge body, you know, the 8/8 body on the board that deals 8 damage every turn. You know, there's also some lethal potential with the Iron Beak. You know, you silence your Ragnaros, and you know it can attack again, so you can just go for the face and get damage that way. I'm talking about you, Fortune. You shouldn't have missed that lethal. That was back like ages ago. Here is something very controversial. People don't. And again, there's same with Sylvanas. People don't like Jiraxxus. And it's actually getting cut from Handlock, but in my opinion, it's a set in stone card. There's no way of replacing this card. This card is so good. Even with, you know, the recent upcoming of Harrison Jones in decks, I've also seen not even Hearts and Jones, but also oozes. Oozes, because there's so many patron warriors. There's some rogues and some stuff like that. So even if you get your Jaraxxus, even if you get your weapon destroyed, you still are in very good position to win the game if you have board control when you play them. Especially against classes like Priest. Actually, I was also against Priest today. I was in the morning. But I was tired, I was like playing blah, 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 and stuff like that. But especially against Priest doesn't have any burst damage unless it's an OTK Priest. But mostly they have no burst damage. So you slam it down, it's 15 health, they have no chance of removing it, especially if you have board control. And every turn you just spam a 6/6. They just can't deal with that board. And I think no class can deal with that board. And again, it's just so good again with Sun Fury, with Defender of Argus, and with Shadow Flame. You spawn a 6/6, and it's a 6 mana, 6 damage Flame Strike to the enemy's board. It's so good. And recently, there has been some variation to this deck. People have been putting Mal'Ganis and like Void Callers into this deck and removing the Molten Giants. And I was actually on board with that, but that turned out to be quite a bad, not a bad deck, but it turned out to be actually slower than it already is. Molten Giants are very, very slow, but are so amazing in the control matchups because they draw out Executes, they draw out BGH, they draw out Siphon Soul, they draw out, any kind of like Shield Slam removal. You actually don't want to get this Shield Slam. You only want to get executed or BGH'd or like Siphon Souled. And if it doesn't get like BGH'd or if it doesn't get removed, it's 8 damage every single turn. And that's the reason why I run Earthen Ring Farseer. So I can trade, get a nice favorable trade. It's such a good trade with a Belcher. For example, let's say you play this on turn 4 and you go into turn 5. Your opponent plays a Belcher. You trade this in and you can tap to get a card, and then Earthen Ring Farseer your own guy, and you're left with an 8/8 that just traded but was healed up 3/3, and your opponent is left with a 1/2. It's just so good. And Molten Giant. And lastly, we have Molten Giants, which are just set in stone for this deck. They're just so good. I think Warlock is like the best class at controlling his health total. People have tried, different decks like mages, like warriors with Molten Giants, but it just never worked that well. It worked, but it didn't work that well. And I think, this deck has such a potential because you control your life total by tapping, okay? You control it by tapping, you tap, you're down at 14, you can play Giants and heal up. With the addition from GVG of Antique Healbot, this deck I think became much stronger because before you would used to run 2 Earthen Ring Farseers and that would be it. You would only have 6 health in regeneration plus the Jaraxxus, like whatever you get from Jaraxxus. But now we have the heal bots which heal for 8 and it's just amazing. Just so good. And yeah, I also forgot to mention that the Jaraxxus is a very good card against hunters. Sometimes you need the additional damage, the 3 damage that comes from the weapon every turn. Plus, I've been left at 1 health so many times, and people just don't even play around this card because they just think you don't play it because the meta is switched so bad. But yeah, I've been left at 1 health so many times, and I Jaraxxus and then won the game. It's just a very good and very rewarding card to play. So this is the rundown. This has been the rundown, of my card choices. This is my variation of a deck. You'll go to other channels, you'll go to other streams, and you will see different variations. You're gonna see no Earthen Ring Farseer, you're gonna see no Thaurissan, you're gonna see no Ragnaros, you're gonna see no Jaraxxus. Like for example, Life Coach runs no Jaraxxus. You'll see 2 Shadow Flames, 2 Hellfires, 2 Shadow Flames, 1 Hellfire, 1 Dark Bomb, 2 Iron Beak Owls, just a lot of variation. I just found that this is, the final version I came up with. I switch it up, depending on the meta. If meta becomes slower, it will be predominantly a lot of control. Of course, I'll swap out like maybe a Dark Bomb for, or even a Mortal Coil for Siphon Soul, stuff like that. You have to be flexible with that kind of changes. But yeah, this has been the part 1 of the deck highlight for Handlock, and yeah, let's just get on with the gameplay, shall we? So see you guys in the next episode.